Everyone thinks Dave Chappelle is just a comedian who tells jokes. But what happened in this federal courtroom will shatter everything you thought you knew about comedy and the law. The greatest comedian alive just delivered the most devastating legal performance in Supreme Court history. And Judge Alito's face when he realized what was happening? Priceless. Dave Chappelle didn't just destroy a federal judge. He rewrote the entire legal framework of free speech in America. What you're about to see will give you chills and make you question everything you thought you knew about celebrity intelligence. Before we dive into this mind-blowing legal destruction, smash that like button and subscribe for more shocking stories where hidden genius destroys established authority. Judge Samuel Alito thought he was dealing with just another entertainer in legal trouble. At 74, the conservative Supreme Court justice had built his career on strict constitutional interpretation and zero tolerance for what he saw as celebrity legal theater. His plan was simple: put this comedian in his place, show him that real law isn't a joke, and send a message that the federal courts weren't a stage for entertainment. He had no idea what was about to hit him. Dave Chappelle wasn't just any comedian. Behind the laughs and the Netflix specials was a man who had spent 15 years secretly studying constitutional law, free speech doctrine, and the legal boundaries of artistic expression. Comedy is the last bastion of free speech, Dave had told his wife Elaine during late-night conversations. If I'm going to protect it, I need to understand the law that governs it. While everyone thought he was just making jokes, Dave was studying Supreme Court cases, First Amendment precedents, and working with constitutional scholars from Georgetown and Howard University. The case that brought them together? Chappelle vs. Federal Communications Commission, a landmark free speech battle that would change comedy forever. The federal courtroom was packed. Comedy fans, free speech advocates, and legal experts filled every seat. This wasn't just any case. This was about the future of comedy in America. Judge Alito looked down at Dave with barely concealed contempt. Mr. Chappelle, this court recognizes your entertainment career. However, federal law involves serious constitutional principles, not punchlines. Are you prepared to engage with actual legal doctrine rather than making jokes? The courtroom fell silent. Everyone expected Dave to crack a joke, maybe deflect with humor. Instead, Dave stood up, looked Alito directly in the eye, and said something that made the entire room freeze. Your Honor, I'd like to discuss the Supreme Court's decision in Cohen versus California and how the court's protection of offensive speech serves essential democratic purposes that extend far beyond entertainment. You could hear a pin drop. Alito's smug expression started to crack. This wasn't the response he expected from a mere comedian. The court held in Cohen, Dave continued, that the government cannot prohibit the expression of an idea simply because society finds it offensive. When the FCC restricts comedic expression based on content, it violates this fundamental principle. Legal reporters were frantically taking notes. This wasn't Dave Chappelle the comedian. This was Dave Chappelle the constitutional scholar. Alito tried to regain control. Mr. Chappelle, citing one case, doesn't demonstrate understanding of the complex balance between free speech and legitimate government regulation. Dave's response was devastating. Your Honor, the court's First Amendment jurisprudence creates a clear framework. In Tinker v. Des Moines, the court established that speech cannot be restricted unless it materially disrupts legitimate governmental interests. In Brandenburg v. Ohio, the court required that restricted speech must incite imminent lawless action. The FCC's comedy restrictions fail both tests. Alito was stunned. This comedian was quoting cases with precision that would impress Harvard law professors. Where did you develop this expertise? Alito asked, his voice betraying genuine shock. Dave's answer broke the internet. Your Honor, I've spent 15 years studying constitutional law at Georgetown's executive program. I've worked with Professor Mari Matsuda on hate speech doctrine, studied under Professor Erwin Chemerinsky on First Amendment theory, and completed advanced coursework specifically focused on the intersection of artistic expression and constitutional protection. The courtroom exploded in whispers. Social media went crazy. Chappelle Constitutional Genius started trending instantly. But Dave wasn't done destroying assumptions. Alito, now taking Dave seriously, decided to test his deepest knowledge. Mr. Chappelle, how do you address concerns that unrestricted comedic expression can cause real harm to vulnerable communities? This was the ultimate test, the intersection of free speech and social responsibility that stumps even law professors. Dave's response was pure genius. Your Honor, this concern reflects a fundamental misunderstanding of how the First Amendment protects democracy. In New York Times versus Sullivan, the court recognized that free speech serves democratic discourse by allowing robust debate about public issues, even when that speech causes discomfort. He paused for effect, then delivered the knockout punch. Comedy serves this same democratic function. It forces society to confront uncomfortable truths about power, prejudice, and human nature. When government restricts comedy based on potential harm, it transforms the First Amendment from a protection of democratic discourse into a tool of censorship. Alito was speechless. This comedian had just delivered a constitutional analysis that would be cited in law school textbooks, but Dave had saved his best argument for last. The framers understood that protecting offensive speech wasn't about protecting offense. It was about preventing government from deciding which ideas deserve protection. When the FCC regulates comedy content, it exercises exactly the kind of viewpoint discrimination that the First Amendment prohibits. The change in Judge Alito was visible to everyone. His initial contempt had transformed into genuine respect and intellectual engagement. Mr. Chappelle, Alito said, your constitutional analysis has been extraordinary. You've presented First Amendment arguments that demonstrate sophisticated understanding of constitutional principles. Dave's response showed why he's not just a great comedian, but a genius. Thank you, Your Honor. I hope this demonstrates that constitutional wisdom can emerge from unexpected places. Comedy and constitutional law both serve the same purpose. They challenge power and protect the right to speak truth, even when that truth makes people uncomfortable. 2 weeks later, Judge Alito issued a landmark 35-page decision that would revolutionize free speech law. The ruling found that FCC comedy restrictions violated First Amendment principles and established new protections for artistic expression. The decision included this incredible acknowledgement. This case demonstrates that constitutional expertise can emerge from practical experience with the freedoms the Constitution protects. Mr. Chappelle's analysis has contributed meaningfully to this court's understanding of First Amendment principles. The Chappelle decision changed everything. Law schools immediately began teaching Dave's constitutional arguments. The case became required reading for First Amendment courses nationwide. Dave Chappelle had proven that true constitutional advocacy requires combining lived experience with rigorous legal scholarship, and that protecting free speech demands the same courage that has always been necessary to defend fundamental rights. The comedy world exploded with celebration. Fellow comedians hailed Dave as not just the GOAT of comedy, but the GOAT of constitutional advocacy. But the most shocking part, Dave had been planning this for years, studying law specifically to protect the art form he loved. As he said in his only interview about the case, "Comedy saved my life. Now maybe I saved comedy." If this incredible fictional story of hidden genius and constitutional courage inspired you, smash that like button and subscribe for more mind-blowing tales of celebrities destroying judges with unexpected brilliance. Hit that notification bell so you never miss these shocking stories of preparation triumphing over prejudice. What did you think of Dave's constitutional expertise? Drop your thoughts in the comments below. Important note, this is completely fictional entertainment created for educational purposes. Any resemblance to real events is purely coincidental. The Chappelle decision changed everything. Law schools immediately began teaching Dave's constitutional arguments. The case became required reading for First Amendment courses nationwide. But the real shock came 6 months later. Dave announced he was establishing the Chappelle Institute for Comedy and Constitutional Rights at Georgetown University, the first academic program combining comedy studies with constitutional law. Comedy and the Constitution both protect democracy, Dave explained at the Institute's opening. Now we're going to teach the next generation of comedians to be constitutional warriors. The comedy world exploded with celebration. Fellow comedians hailed Dave as not just the GOAT of comedy, but the GOAT of constitutional advocacy. Joe Rogan called it the most gangster move in entertainment history. Chris Rock said, "Dave didn't just win a case, he saved free speech for all of us." Even former critics admitted they were wrong about Dave's intelligence. Judge Alito himself became an unlikely ally, guest lecturing at the Chappelle Institute about the intersection of humor and constitutional law. The most shocking revelation? Dave had been secretly funding legal defense funds for comedians facing censorship for years, using his own money to protect free speech warriors nobody knew about. Netflix immediately greenlit Chappelle's Constitutional Comedy, a series where Dave breaks down Supreme Court cases through stand-up comedy. It became their most watched educational content ever. But perhaps the most powerful moment came during Dave's acceptance speech for the Constitutional Courage Award from the ACLU. They said I was just a comedian who walked away from $50 million. But I walked away to learn something more valuable than money, how to protect the thing I love most. Comedy saved my life. Now maybe I saved comedy. And if we're lucky, maybe we saved free speech for everyone. The standing ovation lasted 15 minutes. Dave Chappelle had proven that the greatest punchline of all was justice. If this incredible fictional story of hidden genius and constitutional courage inspired you, smash that like button and subscribe for more mind-blowing tales of celebrities destroying judges with unexpected brilliance. Hit that notification bell so you never miss these shocking stories of preparation triumphing over prejudice. What did you think of Dave's constitutional expertise? Drop your thoughts in the comments below.